So a viral CIA document has just resurfaced online. It's blowing up with some fresh intrigue. The declassified file posted on the CIA's website describes a bizarre Cold War era incident involving a supposed alien attack on Soviet soldiers. According to the report, which draws from the Canadian and Ukrainian sources, Soviet troops allegedly shot down a UFO during a training exercise sometime around 1989 or 1990. We'll tell you all about how crazy this thing unfolds here in just a second. I want to save that for you in a second. But today we've got filmmaker, UFO investigator James Fox joining us. You know him from documentaries like Moment of Contact and The Phenomenon, which dig deep into some of the most compelling UFO encounters on record. And his latest is called The Program. James, let me just show a little teaser here before I say hello to you. Here is The Program. Watch.
In 2017, the New York Times published a story exposing a secret government program investigating UFOs.
That story was kind of a catalyst for a lot of things that have happened since. Members of Congress started to ask questions.
Instruments report there is something there.
There are flight characteristics that we can't explain.
UAPs are unexplained. It's true. They need to be investigated.
Here we are having a hearing where just a few years ago, we didn't even acknowledge that these things were real.
There he is. James Fox is the man behind these great documentaries, and he's a fantastic UFO investigator. And James, what I love about your work is you come at it from a real, I think almost like, I should say, skeptical point of view and a real clear-headed point of view when you approach these stories. So I wanted to have you on because this story seemed like right up your alley. First, maybe you want to maybe paint a picture for us what you think of this story, this CIA document that's resurfaced.
Absolutely. So one thing that I can say, obviously we're looking at a document that was previously classified that leaked. George Knapp has a bunch of previously classified documents that he sort of snuck out of Russia in the mid 90s that revealed incursions from UFOs over, ICBM base in Ukraine where UFOs allegedly activated a couple missiles that were directed to the United States and started a missile launch, which was terrifying. And then after, I guess that, the Russians developed a hands down, no shoot policy against UFOs because of obviously their displayed or their exhibited technology flies rings around what we can do. But I will say, I did speak directly with a general, Parviz Jafari in Tehran, Iran, who had a really dramatic encounter with a UFO in 1975 or 76, and he tried to shoot it out of the sky.
Famous incident.
Very famous incident. And I spoke to him personally. I flew him into Washington, D.C. to testify at the National Press Club with Leslie Kean. And he said that he thought he was going to have to jump out of his airplane in the middle of the night because this UFO froze everything in his cockpit. And it read his mind as he was about to shoot this thing. He's going to literally, has it in his sights, he's going to pull the trigger and his airplane just completely freezes up. So there was a policy adopted, I think internationally, when you see UFOs, don't take a hostile, aggressive position, just leave them alone and they won't bother you. So,
oh my gosh.
So
Although that's kind of ballsy, though, to think about even shooting it. Did he tell you why he thought to do that? Was it being aggressive towards him?
Well, no, because he said, when you see something, as you're trained as a military person, a fighter pilot, when you see something in the sky that you're unable to identify and it's not revealing its identity, you got to shoot it out of the sky. You have to think of it as potentially hostile. And this thing apparently was flying rings around his F-4 Phantom jet. But he got a lock on it, and he said he was a bead away from pulling the trigger to try to shoot this thing out of the sky. And that's when all hell broke loose. So,
which begs the question: if they can read his mind, why can't they teleport or telepathically say, "We're not hostile. We're not doing"? This is just so many questions.
It's really interesting. I interviewed this gentleman years later. I flew him out to Washington, D.C., along with a number of other military and government officials from 7 countries. And he was reflecting back on the incident, and he said, James, one of my biggest regrets was I didn't try and make peaceful contact with this thing. Instead, I took an aggressive, hostile approach and tried to shoot it out of the sky when it wasn't threatening me in any way. And it's interesting, there are other documents that have leaked out since that alleged incident in, I think it was it was actually late 80s. But there was a landing case that happened in Moscow. I'm trying to remember the name of it, Vonaneth, 1989. And these aliens, allegedly, made contact with children. And that happens all around the world. So you wonder if the military is going to take a hostile position, perhaps, and if you did want to make contact, and again, I'm speculating, but it's informed speculation, I would probably rather make contact with children than fighter jets.
Sure.
So I want to go through this document a little bit here, the CIA document here. So it reads like science fiction, but according to the CIA document, 5 humanoid beings reportedly emerged from the wreckage. They fused together, and then they emitted a blinding flash of light. Then they allegedly turned.
After they were shot. Yeah, this was after they were shot down, apparently.
Which is even more amazing. Then they turned, after they were shot down, they turned 23 soldiers into stone. Only 2 men survived. The remains were reportedly moved to a secret lab near Moscow, where scientists found the soldiers' molecular structure matched that of limestone. What the? I mean, I've heard a lot of UFO stories over the years. And of course, I'm fascinated by it. But I've never heard of a story like this. Have you?
In Greek mythology.
I've heard, I could tell you of dozens and dozens of close encounters of the third kind. That's when people report entities connected with the craft all around the world: China, Russia, Australia, Africa, Brazil. I mean, the United States. We've had amazing close encounters of the third kind, extremely well documented. But people taking an aggressive position towards alleged aliens and then being turned to stone, that's a first.
Yeah, I mean, Natalie brings up a great point, Greek mythology. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe, you turn on Ancient Aliens, you can certainly see a lot of, connections between things that have happened thousands of years ago. I mean, I don't want to make a huge leap here, but maybe there is something there.
Look, you look at Jacques Vallée, who's one of the intellectual heavyweights within the scientific community, who's investigated UFO reports for his entire career, and he's in his 80s. He wrote a book called Wonders in the Sky. And it basically documents, since recorded time, these alleged close encounters of the third kind, close encounters of the second kind, cave art, just dating back thousands and thousands of years. So it's my opinion and the opinion of many other researchers that the phenomenon is nothing new. It's been interacting with humanity since the dawn of recorded time.
Where do you come down on disclosure right now and what you're seeing from the Trump administration? I've represented, we had Representative Luna on the show. We had Congressman Burchett on the show a few weeks ago. I mean, all trying to move in this direction. But I think Americans get like stuck in the mud. Like, where are we with all of this? You've been a huge asset to help in this as well.
That's a fantastic question, and that's one of the things I've been addressing, because people, I think, are feeling really frustrated within the UFO community. Like we've had 3 congressional hearings in the last 3 years, 2 of which we've had high-level intelligence officers testify to a bipartisan group of lawmakers under oath. There are consequences for lying to Congress, under oath, that we have a crash retrieval program, that we are in possession of definitive proof that we are not alone. Bodies and craft. Now, those are some really lofty allegations, that the implications are so profound that we owe it to ourselves to continue this push for transparency, support the lawmakers. So what I've been doing, I feature a couple of people that are apparently firsthand witnesses in the program, this film that I've got out right now, and I'm asking them, it's really frustrating when you tell us there's so many things that you can't say on camera. What is it going to take? And essentially, what I'm getting is President Trump can wave the magic wand with an executive order and relieve us of our NDAs and free from violating our national security oaths, and I'll give you the street addresses. So that's where this is heading. And I think that we have a few projects. We basically want to hand the administration on a platter, the names of these individuals, and just say, hey, wave the magic wand. They'll give you the street addresses.
Wow. Well, I think I think that's what it's going to have to take, because you're right. We get the Grosches up there. We get David Grush. We get these other people who tell us about the crash retrieval program. We hear about these recovered biologics or bodies, Luis Elizondo and others testifying before Congress. And then you have these Congress sort of butting heads with the Pentagon right now. Like, what can we declassify? What can we admit to the American people? And President Trump has said on day one, full transparency. So it's going to fully, I guess, come down to him with a pen.
So very interesting. I had a meeting with the new head of Aero, John Klosklowski. And there were certain aspects of the meeting that I was not allowed to talk about publicly because it's kind of an ongoing investigation. But one of the things he said to me, which I thought particularly interesting, was, look, he said, I can't cut my own hair or style my own hairdo without the approval of the DOD. So my hands are tied. In a sense, he's saying, no matter what we uncover, no matter what conclusions that we draw based on our investigations for Congress, our hands are tied. If DOD doesn't approve it, we can't release that, right? Now, this is interesting because you got David Grush, who testified under oath, right? And he's like, I gave all the details needed to verify these accusations, these allegations, to Thomas Monheim, who was the ICIG, Intelligence Community Inspector General at the time, or one of them. And it's amazing to me that he says that, and how come the media hasn't tried to follow up with him? Get an interview with Thomas Monheim. Apparently he has the street addresses. He has all the details that we need to verify these. And the DOD took the clearances away from Grush because they knew that if Grush could get into a skiff with select members of Congress, he would reveal all those details that he can't say publicly, and Congress isn't known for keeping secrets, so it would leak out. So Grush was stripped, and I don't know if he's gotten them back since then, but I know that he was stripped of his clearances.
What do you say to people? Because I always see this in our chat. We're live right now in front of tens of thousands of people, and occasionally I'll see someone in the chat room just say, this is all a psyop. It's all a psyop. When you've been so deeply involved in this for generations of research, what do you say to someone who says this is all a psyop, James?
I think I completely understand that position. And I've actually explained this to people in the past. One of the reasons why I aligned with David Grush when he was testifying under oath, in fact, I had tears pouring down my face because I had just done a crash retrieval case that I spent 15 years investigating that took place in Varginha, Brazil, in 1996. And after, I think, 12 or 13 years, it came to my attention through very compelling eyewitness testimony that the Americans were involved. The Americans flew in, the gentleman called it USAF, United States Air Force, flew in without Brazilian government authorization, landed their plane in this exact area where this stuff was recovered, loaded some stuff up, and flew back to the United States, all secret below the radar. And I was going, oh my gosh, the Americans were involved. I can't believe this. So what David Grush has said aligns with my 30 plus years of research in countries all around the world. And so if I didn't have that field research, I might say, okay, I can see, but I'm also meeting with these intel folks that are complaining about excessive secrecy and putting themselves in potential harm's way by trying to get this information out. Remind your audience, because people go, oh, the government just sort of had an epiphany out of nowhere and decided that the general public needs to know more about the UFOs. That's not what happened. There were a couple of government insiders or intel insiders that decided through protest of excessive secrecy to walk some evidence, found a loophole, walk some evidence, but it was risky, out of the Pentagon and onto the front page of the New York Times. And that is why they'd not be able to put the genie back in the bottle. And it's made, elected representatives aware of oh my gosh, maybe there's a lot more to UFOs than swamp gas and misidentified aircraft. And now, in the program now, we've got a gentleman who sat in with senators with alleged firsthand witnesses on the program that are actually the metal benders, people that are working on this stuff in labs underground. And we're living in exciting times, but our representatives need to hear from us. They need to hear from us that we support these efforts.
Well, we're going to have Congressman Luna back on here. We talked about her being back on to talk specifically about UFOs. So maybe we could get the two of you on. I'd love to have both of you on simultaneously.
Would love that.
Do that.
Would love that. I'm working with firsthand witnesses that want to be able to tell the public. In fact, one of them said to me, I'm doing this for my grandchildren. This is why I'm coming forward. I don't want my grandchildren to grow up, not knowing the truth.
A lot of them, I was just going to say, I didn't mean to cut you off, but a lot of them, on their deathbeds, who served in the military and were a part of these programs, finally admitted they were sworn to secrecy under classified. They told their kids when they were dying. So, we need to get past this. I just want to say, James, I love your work. If one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite documentaries is The Phenomenon. I haven't yet seen the program. We've been moving and building this new studio. So that's on my sort of, when I'm finally done with all that hard work, I'm going to sit down and enjoy myself and watch your newest film. And really excited to see that. So just amazing work. I highly recommend our audience go check out your documentaries. Where's the best place they can find them? Are they available to buy? Where do you rent them?
Amazon. You can rent it. You can rent the program on Amazon for a few bucks. You can buy it. You can go to Apple TV. And then Moment of Contact and The Phenomenon are available on a few free streaming platforms. You can just Google The Phenomenon, Moment of Contact, and the program, which just came out a couple months ago, and that's on Amazon and it's on Apple TV.
Well, James,
thank you so much.
James Fox, it's been a thrill having you here. I'd love to have you back. We'll do a deep dive interview if your schedule allows it in the next couple of weeks. How does that sound?
Would love it. Wonderful. I really appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you very much.
And by the way, I'm going to say this to my wife, James. I want to join you if you go on a big assignment somewhere where you need somebody to come kind of tag along.
This is not news to Natali.
Yeah.
This is not news to me.
We've been married 15 years. I said, I will bring you
to Brazil if you're serious.
Yes, I would love to. Yes. I'm serious.
We speak Portuguese. So
yes, I speak the language, so I would be happy
better.
Exactly. James, great to see you. Thank you so much for your incredible work. And we'd love to have you back on here. We'll do a deep dive. We'll get you on with Congressman Luna if our schedules align. Thank you so much, James. Great to see you.
Anytime, and I appreciate very much what you guys do, and thank you for having me on.